Okay, thanks. As I said, we just want to welcome you to the Deeper Dive into Citizen Science Kits webinar. If you could tell us your name in the chat, your organization and the location you're joining from. Sorry if you can hear sirens going by. My name is Emily Early, and I'm joined by a couple of my colleagues. I'm joined by Tara Cox. We are both representing SciStarter, and we also both work for an organization called the National Girls Collaborative Project, which focuses on increasing equity in STEM for girls and other underrepresented audiences. We're also joined by Robin Salthouse, who is our library advisor at SciStarter. And they're both going to chat with you all about this topic in just a few moments. I am joining from Houston, Texas, and Tara's joining from Philadelphia, and Robin is in Washington State. Great, thank you everyone. If you're just joining us, you can tell us your name, organization, and location in the chat so that we can get to know each other and see all of the various locations you're joining from.
We're coast to coast in the chat, Emily, from
That's great.
the East Coast down to you in Texas, and I see some West Coasters too.
Awesome. We're glad to see everyone. Happy to have you here. I'll just go through our agenda for our call today. So we started, of course, with a welcome and going through the agenda, which we're doing now. Tara is going to give you an introduction to citizen science projects and talk to you about some of the exciting projects on SciStarter that you can get your community involved in. And then Robin is going to talk to you about how to build citizen science kits, how to promote them and circulate them with your community, and then we'll take some questions at the end. So we're going to start with a poll here. Tara, if you want to launch that whenever you're ready. So our poll question is, have you ever built a citizen science kit before? So if you're just joining us, we're starting with a poll question. Our question is, have you ever built a citizen science kit before? I can't see it on my screen, but I'm assuming it's up there, Tara.
Yes, it is. And we actually have a third option. I think it's from our prior webinar.
Oh, no.
It says outside the US.
Well,
I think that was a prior webinar when we wanted to know where folks were calling in from. But you could just stick to our yes or no. That would be great. Yeah, we have a lot of people responding. I'll give it just another minute.
Sounds good. And then we'll share the results.
Looks like over 75% of our participants today have not built citizen science kits.
Okay, great. Well, wherever you're starting from, if you have built them before, if you're completely new to this, we're happy to have you, and we're going to tell you a little bit more about the process. So. Okay, we're going to start with answering the question, what is citizen science? So some of you, as I just said, may be familiar with citizen science. You may have built kits, you may have had lots of involvement with us, and some of you may be completely new to this idea. So the big picture is that citizen science is a global movement that enables people from all walks of life to collaborate with scientists and scientific research by participating in it. So you will hopefully get your community involved in collecting and analyzing scientific data in a variety of different subjects to advance scientific research. It's also a way for people to make a difference and engage in issues that impact them and their communities.
I just want to quickly answer Christine's question. It's a good one. Will we have access to the recording and the slides? Yes, we will send a recording. We can also share the slides in a follow-up email as well. So everyone who's registered will receive that.
We'll likely send it out tomorrow. So look for that in your inbox. If anyone who registered, even if they are not able to join live, will receive that recording. Great. So we also wanted to talk to you about the goals of the National Citizen and Community Science Library Network. We're currently building this network, and we welcome you to join if you have not already. If one of my colleagues wants to pop in the chat, we'll also share it on the next slide, but there is a page on the SciStarter website that talks to you about the network and where you can join the network. The goals of the network are to build your capacity to bring citizen science to your communities, to help you feel empowered to support your community in engaging with citizen science, to broaden participation and increase diversity and participation in citizen science, and then ultimately to shape and accelerate scientific research as well. And you might be asking, what are some of the benefits of joining the network? You're actually participating in one of the benefits today. So we have this ongoing professional development series of webinars that we hope you will join. We have another one coming up in a couple of weeks, which we'll share the link to at the end of the webinar today. And then we've also done a few of these calls. So we do have recordings on our YouTube channel that you can view some of the previous webinars that we've hosted. But the benefits are also that we'll provide you with kit building guides, which we're going to talk about in depth today, and marketing and promotional resources, access to future grants and funding opportunities. We hope that you'll also join the community of practice with other librarians and community-based organizations that are invested in citizen science to help broaden participation and get your communities involved. And then we'll also provide evaluation reports with data and findings. We do have an evaluation, a quick survey we're going to ask you to take at the end of our call today. So once we start publishing some of that information, we hope to share that back with you. And then there are a couple of expectations or just things we hope you will join us if you do join the network. So we hope you'll engage your community in citizen science, build and circulate citizen science kits within your community, promote awareness of the library network through events and other promotional opportunities. We hope you'll keep attending webinars and joining us in these calls, and then participate in evaluation as well so that we can learn from you and all of the exciting things that you're doing. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a webpage at scistarter.org/library-network, where you can find lots of different resources to help get started or to supplement some of the work that you might already be doing. So there are those 3 links that are on the website for training. So we have a lot of online training tutorials that you can take and you can share with your staff as well. We have resources such as promotional resources and social media ads that you can use, lots of free resources to help promote and facilitate citizen science projects. And then those step-by-step kit building guides that we're going to go over are on that kits page. And those include lists of the materials for the kits, lots of instructions for how to build the kits, and things like that.
All right, thank you, Emily. That was a great introduction to our network. We really hope you join or have already joined, and you'll receive all of this information in the follow-up email as well, so you don't have to memorize these links. Everything that we're saying today, we'll send a comprehensive email tomorrow with the resources that we're sharing today. So you're all here today to learn a little bit more about how to build the citizen science kits that we've been developing, and we have been piloting these with local libraries in Arizona. We have 10 pilot libraries right now that are using these resources nationally, and we're constantly adapting them so that they can really work for your audiences and be turnkey resources that you can easily implement in your library, but also be able to adapt for the audiences that you are reaching. So these kits are centered around citizen science projects. So if you're not familiar with the citizen science project, there are thousands of projects. You can find them on SciStarter.org. They range from this great project called Stall Catchers, which accelerates Alzheimer's research, to Globe at Night, which helps to gather pollution on light pollution data. So there is something that is of interest to anyone. All ages can participate. Younger kids need to have an adult be able to contribute the data with them, but there's tons of things you can search on SciStarter by age, by audience, to see what project might be of interest. And we're starting to develop kits around some of these projects in order to help make the projects more accessible to your audiences so that they can just pick up a kit, be able to collect the data and contribute to science. So you'll see here some of the amazing things that citizen science projects have helped us to learn in the last couple of years. Bird populations are declining. One of my favorites is that there was a project that looked at bacteria inside people's belly buttons. It asked people to swab their belly buttons and send it in. And we've learned that there are 50 types of bacteria that live in your belly button. Another amazing one, there was a new aurora borealis discovered, and the citizen scientist who discovered it got to name it Steve. So you could be the next discoverer of something cool and have it named after you. Why do people participate in citizen science? There are a lot of benefits. First of all, it broadens the scope of who can contribute to science, right? We are trying to break barriers of who can contribute to science, and that is why we need your help, because you reach new and diverse audiences that might not be familiar with citizen science. It enables people to contribute real data, to accelerate important research, to be able to practice scientific skills, both young and old, and that are some of the benefits. Ultimately, the largest benefit is that it really helps us to accelerate this research of lots of different things. All right, so like I said, we haven't developed kits for every citizen science project out there. There are thousands. So we're starting with some of the most popular, some of the ones that we found people have the most interest in. And the two that we're going to be talking about, which the kits that we're going to be building today are Globe at Night and iNaturalist. So let's start with the Globe at Night project. This is an awesome project. It focuses on light pollution. So first we ask why. Why is this something that somebody would want to study? Light pollution affects not just our ability to look at the stars, but a lot of other things like our sleep, like animal migration patterns. I live in Philadelphia, and we've been doing something really cool around the time of animal migration. We've asked all the skyscrapers to go dark for a couple of days to promote animal migration patterns. And the data on light pollution helps us to better understand these things. So what do people do? They have a light meter. They go out and measure the dark sky and contribute data on how polluted their skies are in terms of brightness. And you can do this anywhere. You just need a light meter, and we'll tell you about how to build that kit in a second. The second project that's super popular is this iNaturalist project, which encourages people to basically go outside and observe the biodiversity around them in order to learn about lots of different types of things. Animal patterns, global warming, climate change, how late flowers are blooming. There's tons of things and data that you can contribute just by looking in your backyard or in your neighborhood, right? Scientists only have 2 eyes, so they're relying on you to be able to take photos of biodiversity, upload them into the iNaturalist app, and contribute to this conversation on what's happening in our backyards. So the projects that we've chosen, there's currently 3. The one additional one that I didn't talk about is Counting Pollinators, Observing Pollinators project, another really, really popular one. We chose these projects because they could be done anywhere. You can look, there's tons of biodiversity, even in Philadelphia, in the concrete jungle. There, or if you live in the West Coast, East Coast, there's just tons of different biodiversity out there. Light pollution as well. There's pollinators everywhere, not all the time, but projects that people can do from coast to coast and globally. I know we have some global friends online too. So these are projects that anyone can do. They are still ongoing. They have long-term data collection efforts. They're low cost. There's not too many consumables associated with them. And people would benefit from a kit because of some of the specialized materials that you might not have, such as the light meter that Robin's going to tell you about. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Robin, who is going to go through a little bit more step-by-step how to build the kits associated with these projects. If you have any questions, you can just add them to the chat.
Thanks, Tara, and welcome everybody. And I'm so excited to see the diversity of people here as far as volunteers. It looks like library staff and people from other organizations. And I think building a kit for your group or working with your library to help support these projects will be an amazing involvement for you all. So let's look at the kits that we have BuildAKick guides for at this time on the library BuildAKick, which the website is on the bottom of the screen. And again, we're going to focus on the BuildAKick guides and kits for exploring biodiversity and measuring light in the night. So we'll go to the next slide where we're going to talk about the BuildAKick guides. We put these together so you have a soup to nuts guide to putting the kit together. And as you can see from the table of content, we cover a lot of the areas that you may have questions about as you put these kits together to serve your community. And we're going to delve into one guide in particular so you can get a better feel for how that's going to work. So the next slide. So let's look at the contents for the measuring light in the night. And this supports the Globe at Night research project. And as Tara mentioned, you're going to want to have a sky quality meter, and notice it's the -L. That is a specific model that you want to make sure you get. And we've also worked with the manufacturer, Unihedron, who is out of Canada, to provide you guys with a code to get a slight discount, whether you're ordering one or several. By putting that code on your purchase order, you'll receive some money off on that, that sky quality meter. You'll also want to include, and that is something you can't substitute. The protocol for the Globe at Night project asks that you use this specific light meter if you're going to use a light meter. You can do this project without a light meter, but believe me, someone like me who's not an astronomer or an amateur astronomer, I feel much more confident with my data by using this light sky quality meter. It's somewhat expensive. It is over $100. So it's something most people aren't going to have in their homes. And that's why we've put this together and ask libraries to lend it out to their community, their library users. The other thing you want in the kit is a red LED flashlight. And why is that? Why can't you use a regular flashlight? Well, red flashlights help protect your night vision, and you want to keep the area around you as you take the light meter reading dark. So the light, ambient light from a flashlight, or you don't want to do it under a street light, doesn't throw off the light pollution reading you get from the sky quality meter. We also encourage you to get a planisphere appropriate for your location, so that before people go out, they can set the planisphere up. They dial it up by date and time to get a feel for what stars should be out. You may only be able to see a few stars. So this kind of helps you see, if you had really good dark skies, what stars you should be. And if you do this observation without the sky quality meter, it'll help align your view with the charts that the Globe at Night data input webpage provides. We also include, and it's free to download, an activity guide with the directions to get the users started in using and participating in this project. One of the important things we ask people to do is create a free SciStarter.org account. By doing that, projects like this, who we call affiliate projects, will let you track as a user how you what you're participating in. And believe me, as someone who's been doing citizen science now for several years, it gives me a lot of satisfaction knowing that I'm making a difference, and it tells me how many times I've contributed to these affiliate projects. We also encourage you to create a storage piece of storage for the device. Here we're showing a box which conveniently stacks up in at a library or at home. Other people are using backpacks, which they feel are better for their community. These are, again, our suggestions. The only thing that you really should have is the sky quality meter for this kit, but I think the other, and the activity guide, but the other things will really help make this project more meaningful and enjoyable to the user. Okay, so now let's look. I think our next slide is a biodiversity kit. And so here are some of the items that we encourage you to put in the biodiversity kit. Clip-on lenses. I will warn you that this is an item, especially recently with supply chain issues, it's sometimes hard to find as far as a consistent product. So we just encourage you to have a lens kit that has a macro lens and a telephoto lens. I found the macro lens to be really helpful in observing fungi this past fall. It's important to get up underneath the mushroom or the fungi to show if there's gills or not, to do close-ups around, small pieces of fungus. So good for insects as well. Telephoto, of course, is good for taking pictures of things far away from your smartphone or your tablet. Field guidebooks would be something you might want to put in, so people can put in tips or cool observations they've made while contributing to the iNaturalist project with this kit. And again, the activity guide and your storage device. Something else we've recently added are binoculars. Binoculars are always great for looking at things from a distance, or maybe just scouting out an area from a distance. So something else that you can include in your kits. Next slide, please. Something new that we've recently been able to do through the support of NNLM, the network of the National Libraries of Medicine, is translate several of items within a kit into the Spanish language. Now, this isn't complete, but if you have a large Spanish-speaking population, you'll see many of the items are now available, and you'll see how you can get to those when we take a closer look at the BuildAKick kit. So let's look. So here are some of the things that you'll find that have been translated for Spanish language users for the 3 kits we're looking at today. So the activity guide has been translated. There's bookmarks, a label that you can put on a storage device or laminate and clip to a backpack. There's some data sheets that we've also translated for the kits. This is especially true for observing pollinators and observing light in the night. And again, if you want to have a Spanish version of your field guidebook, we have a label that you can put on one book for Spanish speakers and one for English speaking users. Next slide. And then also we're in the BuildAKick guide, we also kind of guide you in cataloging the kits. We know that not all libraries do things the same way. So again, these aren't hard and fast rules. We just want to kind of give you a checklist or some guidance and things to consider as you put your kits together, whether it's, making plans to get those barcodes, putting labels, just, how do you label your kits? Security, you probably want to make sure you put some kind of security tag on so these just don't walk out of the library without being checked out first. And then also we even give you samples for creating bib records. Again, these are examples, guidance. Your kit may have different contents, and so you may have to modify these things to fit the needs of your library system or organization. Next slide. Okay, Tara, do you want to start the chat?
Sure. I thought we were going to go through one of the BuildAKick guides. Are we going to do that before the chat?
Yeah, let's do that now. Actually, that's a great idea. Thank you. So we're going to look specifically, Tara's going to bring up one of the BuildAKick guides, and we're going to go through it to give you a better sense of what they look like. So they all are going to follow the same format. And basically you have a table of contents with hyperlinks so you can pop in and out. I also want to point out the picture. We've been really struggling with how to illustrate through photographs the images of the kits, because we're finding through our research and trying to improve how we do things, that libraries are approaching kids with different equipment or different ways of doing things. So for instance, your lens kit may not be the same one that we've provided. You may have a different model binocular. So feel free, if you have the ability, in the activity guide, this is where you would have your photo of the image, to put your image that matches your kit. And that might be really helpful to your staff checking out the kits with the user, so they can quickly go through and make sure that everything's there. The other thing with the kits is that we offer you the ability to get an idea of what the kit's all about before you even start using it, who's in the age appropriateness of the kit. And also, we also talk about even funding the kits. We've gone, and I'm going to put a link of an excellent example in our in the chat here of the Arizona State Library. Your state library may be a great resource for you to get funding for these kits. And the Arizona State Library is an excellent example. So use that link I just put in the chat. Look and see how they've done it. They are going to offer this LSTA grant one more time to Arizona libraries for 2022, but they do an excellent job in guiding you how to apply, what the money is, how much money you're going to get. In this case, they're offering $3,000. And of course, the reporting requirements, things like that. Other groups that might fund you are your community groups like Kiwanis, Rotary. I know Pima County Library in Arizona, in the city of Tucson, got excellent support for the Friends of the Libraries to expand out their kits. So we want to help you with ideas to fund your kits as well. So now that we're getting into the meat of this BuildAKick guide, you're going to see links to specific items that you can purchase. And again, a lot of these can be substituted unless it says do not substitute, as it will with this sky quality meter in the measuring light in the night kit. So if we continue down, we cover everything from items to put in the kit to now the downloaded printed materials like the activity guide. And notice here, we have this activity guide available in English and Spanish to download. We also offer you the opportunity to print out labels, bookmarks, let's see, borrowing agreements. We'll look at one here in a few minutes in more detail, and we can explain how you might want to use that. Again, many of these things can be used as they fit the needs of your library. So if we go down a little bit further, we give you, again, ideas and thoughts of how to catalog the kits. We can't help you with that exactly because we don't have access to your software to do that, but hopefully these guidelines will help you achieve that need. And your cataloging people know better than us anyway. And then promoting and circulating the kit, we give you these great free downloadables, bookmarks and flyers and things we call rack cards. The rack cards can be used either in a floor stand that you'll see an example of in just a minute, or we found out several libraries, and there's an example of one close up. They come in different styles. One, as this one shows, explains the kit. Another one will say, hey, they're available to check out, and you can even put the kit barcode on the bottom of it. So when you take the kit rack card up to the desk, the staff knows, oh, I should be able to find this kit in storage, and boom, you're ready to go to checkout. We had one library that is actually using DVD cases to show that the kits are available. And so those rack cards could just be slipped in as the cover of the DVD case, and then you could substitute, hey, this kit is out, but get your name on our holds list. We even have a rack card for that. And then the flyers are great for doing outreach programs, to put on the shelves as shelf talkers, to talk about, hey, we've got a kit to support this project. So a kit like a flyer like this could be put in the insect section or the bird section, any section that would trees that, you know, people might be interested in contributing their observations to iNaturalist. Researchers use that data all the time to figure out if there's something's happening with a species, or if in general is the biodiversity of an area changing. Hopefully you'll have a chance to delve into iNatural. It's just amazing, the data that's been collected by people like you. And then as we go down our guide, there's the sample of a floor stand that you might want to put in your library. Other people have used slat walls. So this is just one example. People have found less expensive ways to display, but we had one of these floor stands at our library, and I loved using it because it gave me a chance to kind of go after people who were spending time looking at the material, and I was able to engage them further with questions about, or, you know, do you have any other questions? Did you want to take out a kit? Because sometimes they just need that extra little push to go into the circulation desk and say, yes, I want a kit. All right, and then we also really encourage you to register your kit. There's the link there on the guide. And what you want to do is go to the very bottom of that web page, and there's a link that's specially for your library to put your kits into, which will eventually end up in a map showing your community and the world, for that matter, that you're a hub for citizen science with kits to lend out. Okay, and then we go on to preparing your staff, some suggestions. This project will work best if your staff knows what's going on. And we even offer free training for you, your community, and your staff. There's 2 courses for librarians, but the first course, Foundations of Citizen Science, is for everyone. And it's a great way to get people involved in doing citizen science. It gets them actually involved in participating in a couple projects, creating their SciStarter account. And then the second free training is for your staff and you to be better facilitators of citizen science. By completing each of these trainings, you'll receive this adorable badge that you can show off on social media, on LinkedIn, and certainly prove to your management that you are becoming an expert in citizen science. And if you're one of the people who work as on certification for the Medical Library Association, you can also receive credit. We've worked with them. So by taking these 2 courses, you'll receive 2 hours of continuing education to meet your certification for the Medical Library Association.
Robin, I just want to address Katie's question in the chat, which
Sure.
actually is these tutorials are a good way to answer it. So Katie Moore says, those who have made kits, do you offer tutorials for your patrons before checking them out? That was the first question. These online tutorials are not just for your staff, they are also for your patrons. So this is a great way to introduce them to what is citizen science, which is the first part. And then part 2 is specifically for your library staff to learn a little bit more. They're basically self-guided tutorials, similar to what we're doing today, but people can do them on their own time. but that first foundations training is a really good way to get the word out about citizen science. Feel free to post about that on your social media, on your library's website. And then Robin will talk about some other ways to get folks kind of ready and prepared to check out these kits and excited about citizen science before checking out one of the kits. We have some strategies for that too.
Yeah, and just thank you, Tara. And further on that note, you know, some of our libraries are actually creating websites for their citizen science program. And so to link to this training, the foundations of citizen science for your library users would be a great addition. And hopefully in future webinars, we'll have samples of those websites. So maybe you can copy them or get ideas for your own. Right now, I think if you go to the LA Public Library website and do a search on neighborhood science, you should be able to get to their website to get an example of such, but we've got some really great ones coming online that hopefully we can share in the future. And then also we go into partnerships and events. We really encourage you to work with community-based organizations like astronomy clubs, your master gardeners. Those would certainly support programs for the projects we're talking about today. When I was in Arizona, working at the library in Gilbert, I got a lot of good support from different departments at Arizona State University. There's a biodiversity museum initiative that's going on off campus, and the director for that came in to talk about it and all the amazing species they had on display and for research. And also hoping that, you know, people were really interested, they could further their citizen science by volunteering at that facility. So both of us, you know, won from that presentation he did. And then of course, events like the one I just described, having speakers who are specialists in their field or knowledgeable about the projects are excellent ways to support the project and continue its interests within the community. So again, look at these documents to get going and hopefully get you started on everything. And then also just want to talk about Citizen Science Month, which you'll hear about later in the program, as a great way in April to really highlight this project.
Thank you so much, Robin. Yeah, we're going to get to the chat discussions, but you know, you always say too, just start with a book display. Right? Start with an easy way to start gaining, you know, garnering interest in citizen science. It doesn't have to be a bio blitz right away. It can start small and then build interest and talk to your community about, you know, how to partner on events that they may already have going on. We hear from our partners in amateur astronomers. They have tons of events that they host for the public. Consider partnering with them and getting the word out about the kit through one of their events. It doesn't always have to be you all driving the interest.
Yeah, and I just wanted to further kind of comment on Bill and Darlene's discussion about deposits with kits. Thank you, Darlene. And we're going to talk about a borrowing agreement here in a little bit. But yeah, that's a great point when you're coming to the point of circulating the kits. It's great to have your policies in place. I know one library system in Arizona is kind of like, you know, if somebody loses or damages something, we're not going to charge them. To the other end where I worked was, yeah, you damage or lose something, more than likely you're going to get charged for it. And we did use the borrowing agreement, at least initially, to help the staff and the library users understand what was in the kit and the cost of the item. It was a good point to drive home, hey, these sky quality meters are like $125. So don't let your kids play with them, okay? So those are kind of some of the things that you want to think about before you start circulating the kits.
Great points. Everyone's seeing the chat discussion slide, is that correct? Oh, great. Yeah, so we have a couple of questions to think about. And there's another great question that I want to get to by Pam, but as we get to that question, we just have some reflection questions for you all, and thinking about the two kits that you just heard about, Globe at Night and Biodiversity, also the pollinators one that we didn't go in depth on. How do these themes and these projects connect to the communities you're already working with? And are there events or opportunities for you to connect these themes to your community, to community-based organizations? We're curious to hear from you what comes to mind right away. So if you want to just type that in the chat, feel free to get that discussion going. And I'll just address Pam's question. Is there a template for the BuildAKick guides on kits that haven't been developed yet? There is not quite yet. I think that we're still in the phase of figuring out what is essential in these kits and what's flexible in these kits, and then thinking about how to make maybe a more universal document where you can take a project that hasn't necessarily had a kit associated with it and build one. We also have 3 new themes coming out. We'll tell you about them at the end. So we're continuing to develop these BuildAKick guides and the resources for you as well.
Yeah, and I love some of this.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead,
the suggestions coming in are great too. Does anybody work with Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts? They have badges and journeys that they work on that these kits might help them with. Yeah, regional parks, that's a great place to work with. I worked with our mountain preserve system in the city of Phoenix when I lived there. We had amazing labs to go to use iNaturalist or observing pollinators. Yeah, I just want to point out that if you work with Girl Scouts, there is a specific journey called Think Like a Citizen Scientist. So this is a perfect program to help them with those and work through those journeys.
Really, really great connections being made in the chat. Senior centers, homeschool programs. The nice thing about these kits is that they reach a wide audience, and we encourage you to adapt them to make sense for, and add additional activities or tie them to other things that you're doing. I know somebody said they have an environmental class, and that the biodiversity kit would be a great supplement to that. We love that. We're trying our best to figure out a way to collect all of this information from you all, which is actually a great opportunity to plug. In the spring, we will be sending out a survey to all folks that have attended our webinars over the last year to learn about how you've been making these adaptations, so that we can improve our process and we can share your great work across the network. So please, 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 this is my first time I'll ask, but not the last time I'll ask, for you to complete that survey when it comes out in the spring.
Yeah, somebody mentioned 4-H. Again, 4-H clubs are a great partner and a group to work with.
Yes, and we are working with folks on a national level, from 4-H, from Girl Scouts, from the NASA Night Sky Network. These are our national partners who help us to better understand how we can develop kits to make sense for their community-based organizations. So it's this interesting, it's not a one-directional feedback loop. We are getting feedback from you all. We're getting feedback from our national partners. We're getting feedback from the folks that are actually using the kits. There's a survey link for each of these kits for the end user as well. Super important for us to kind of learn where people might be having trouble, where we can improve our process. So please encourage your participants to fill that survey out as well.
And there's a comment about veterans groups. On that, I would really encourage you to go, as you go and work through SciStarter and iNaturalist, to look at BioBlitzes. That's kind of a group activity where you blitz a specific area during a specific time, and it can be over a course of weeks to gather, all the different observations of, anything living, lizards, birds, fungus, trees, grasses, whatever, wildflowers. That would be a wonderful activity, I would think, for a veteran or a senior group. So that's those, or just anybody from your library. When we had one at our library, we had children preschool with their parents up to, you know, seniors who really had a fun time. And we brought in specialists from Arizona State University, from the National Park System or County Park System, who went out with people to help them identify things with their special knowledge of biodiversity. So just some more ideas. I hope you guys, if you're not doing them already, think about those as possible programming ideas.
Just want to add one more thing, Robin, before you move on to promoting and circulating. Rebecca asked if Linda would share the worksheet with that she had developed, which makes me think that if you have resources that you are using that you think other libraries would benefit from, this is another opportunity through the library network that we're developing. We can share that resource in one of our newsletters. This is exactly the kinds of things that we're looking for. Actually, Emily, why don't we write that down for the next newsletter to ask for folks to send us resources for, do you have anything you want to share for in our upcoming newsletter? I think that's one of the ways we can promote this community of practice and sharing. We have a specific email dedicated to the library network, which Emily or Robin can drop in the chat, and we all monitor that email, so we can certainly get the word out that way.
Yeah,
all right,
great
Robin,
idea.
promoting and circulating kits, go for it.
Okay, thanks. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so to me, one of the most important things is preparing your staff. Hopefully, and I know this at this time, it might be challenging, but hopefully you guys can still have staff meetings. And if you can just get maybe 10, 15 minutes to kind of go through the citizen science process at your library, you know, or can they do the training? And our training serves as great a way to meet professional development goals, as well as these kind of webinars. Send your staff to programs like this and let them achieve their professional development goals, and talk about it at staff meetings or give specific examples. I use my staff meetings to answer questions, and staff brought up some good points as we worked as a pilot library to kick off this whole idea of libraries offering citizen science kit. You know, again, promote that foundations of citizen science online training. It's free. Get a link on your homepage. SciStarter actually offers a widget to specific projects. You can put that on your webpage. Find that on SciStarter.org. Have you and your staff read the Library and Community Guide to Citizen Science. You'll find links to that all over our pages. And again, ask not only just you as maybe the lead for the citizen science project, but anybody you think in the library who would benefit from these meetings, from the newsletters, to join as well. It's free, and it'll just get you all those benefits Emily talked about at the beginning of this webinar. Next slide. And then again, we want to just keep emphasizing all the materials we've developed to help you promote this, whether it's a floor stand, a slat wall, a book display, or just even a tabletop display of citizen science. There's amazing materials that you probably don't realize would support citizen science. And there are some book lists in the different BuildAKick guides to kind of spur that idea, or maybe even help you in collection development to bring some of those materials in. So use our rack cards to draw attention to it. You know, the term citizen science is probably going to be new to many of your library users, and many of them may feel embarrassed or shy to come up and talk to you about it. So these are kind of self-service to hopefully start engaging them in the whole idea of citizen science. And we know everybody loves bookmarks. So have these bookmarks out at the desk, and they might be a great segue for your staff, for somebody, a student, or even a senior who just somehow leads into this whole kit because they have an interest in gardening or they're worried about light pollution. If you have these bookmarks available to give to them right then and there while they're asking questions, you have a great way to get them involved in citizen science with them maybe not even knowing that this is an opportunity for them. And again, those flyers are great to put on your shelves in areas that match the theme. And again, let people know that you're a hub for citizen science. Okay, next page. Here is our borrowing agreement, and it's been modified for each kit. And again, it's in a it's totally up to you if you want to use this. It's in a Word format. So if you don't like the way we've put it together, or your library operates in a way that the way it's set up doesn't quite work for you, feel free to change it around. But it's nice, it does have at least an idea of the items you might want to list. You can put costs down if you want customers or your library users to realize that, hey, this is not a toy, it has a value, and we want you to be aware of that, and of course, return it in a good condition as you left with. My library, which was very busy, especially on Friday afternoons and Saturday afternoons, ended up doing away with this, but initially it did help the staff kind of become familiar with the kit contents and help some of the library users do that as well. It'll help just establish maybe some policies in your library as you start circulating these kits. Okay, next slide. And also we want to let you know about a relatively new website on SciStarter.org is the library ads. In some areas of the country, we are promoting to research the effectiveness of our kits. Some of the libraries that are hubs for citizen science. And so we've created these professional looking slides on this web page with suggested content or descriptions you may want to include with these social media posts. So feel free to grab them and use them themselves, or use them as models to create your own social media. And it's real important to tag us, like at SciStarter or hashtag citizen science, so we can all help promote your work. I just did that with a library in Pennsylvania that tagged us. And so I, put out on my Twitter feed, their post on having these kits. So make sure you tag us as well. Okay, Tara.
I can go.
I'm going to toss to Emily actually to wrap us up.
Oh, sorry.
Thank
Yeah,
you. No worries. No
All
worries.
good. So we also wanted to talk to you. That concludes the information about the kits, but we have some time for we'll have some time for questions here, it looks like. So we also wanted to promote some upcoming opportunities to engage with the library network. So again, if you haven't joined the network, we ask that you can go to scistarter.org/library-network. We'll send that in the follow-up email as well. Please join the network so you can get the newsletter we've mentioned a few times, and you can engage with us through that and through some of the other benefits we talked about earlier. We also have another webinar in just a couple of weeks on February 10th, which is Planning for Citizen Science Month. So Citizen Science Month is in April. It is a time for not only libraries, but community-based organizations, anyone who's interested in citizen science, the public as well, to promote citizen science and engage with it. So we are hosting a webinar that's for you to give you some ideas and resources for planning an event during Citizen Science Month. So we hope you will join us then. You can register at the link there, also scistarter.org/library-network, and we will send the direct link to register for that webinar in the follow-up email. And then now we have time for questions. So we have about 6 minutes. So if you have any questions about citizen science, about the library network, or about the kits that we've talked so in depth about today, you can enter them in the chat. We do also have a survey that we're hoping you can take for us. We will send this in the follow-up email, but if you have 5 minutes or so now, I just added it to the chat. We ask that you take that webinar, post-webinar survey so that we can learn from you and hopefully make the next webinar even better. And if you would like to email us as well, where our email is librarynetwork@scistarter.org. You can share resources with us. You can ask us questions. We all monitor that, as Tara mentioned earlier, so we'll get back to you pretty quickly from that email address. Great, thank you, Tara. And if there aren't any questions, this concludes our webinar. We thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you at the next webinar in just a couple of weeks. Jim had a question. Any other tips for funding sources outside Arizona? Maybe smaller funding or ideas about potential community funders?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead,
really
Robin.
think, yeah, I would really think, like where I am now, I know the Rotary has had in the past huge garage sale type events where they've earned tens of thousands of dollars. And then you go to that Rotary and apply kind of like the state library for a grant. And they publicize everybody they've given money for and to. And I've noticed the local library's gotten, I think, tens of thousands of dollars for different projects, whether it's remodeling the children's area or adding extra collection materials. Why not ask them for a citizen science grant or donation? Maybe go to one of their meetings and put that idea into their minds that, hey, you're here trying to promote citizen science, which has so many different benefits to, young people, older people, families. It's a really important way of not only contributing to real science, accelerating research, but just other benefits of multi-generational events, things like that.
Darlene said that the network of the National Library of Medicine offers grants for citizen science. Christine said that NASA and the Association of Small Rural Libraries offers grants. This is an area of the website for libraries that we are actually still developing. We know about the LSTA grants and some of the Friends of the Library, as Jen just mentioned, but we're going to be building out this section a little bit more so that we can guide you to and give you some suggestions in this area.
Yeah, and with the NNLM, it's a library network of National Libraries of Medicine. You do need to become a free member. So I think it's nnlm.gov, and keep your eyes out because there were some mini grants last year, kind of at the last minute, and they were specifically for citizen science. So if you're not a member, become a member of NNLM and keep an eye out for those grants. There's their link. I'm a member. Not only are there grant opportunities, but it's a great way to get information on all the resources, free resources they offer to support your library users regarding health and medicine.
Any other questions? As always, feel free to email us and we are happy to answer questions there. There's also a bunch of other webinars that we've already hosted on how to promote a citizen science event at your library. What is citizen science? If you want a little bit more of a deep dive, the trainings. We're trying to provide as many resources as possible to you so that you're confident and ready to bring citizen science to your communities. But if there are no other questions, we will say goodbye and thank you so much. We'll see you at the next webinar.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Yep,
Great
thanks.
discussion.